What's going on, everybody? Cowboys C3. Super excited about the win tonight. Cowboys win 33-16. One request. Just one. Let's see it against a good team. Let's talk about it here next on Cowboy Spit.
Here we go! Yeah, here we go! Wait, take Cowboys.
Throws back of the end zone. There's
What's going on, everybody? Cowboy C3. Cowboys went into Vegas after a very emotional bye week with the tragic death of Marshawn Nealon, and go in and handle business 33-16. Looked pretty good doing it. Got off to a slow start on offense, but the defense looked different. Instant impact from Quentin Williams. It was crazy. Don't come in here smiling ear to ear because y'all finally put a good game together. Not yet. I will be smiling from ear to ear next week if they do it against Philly. It's the Raiders. Raiders have had a bad season. They got off to a slow start, but something about this defense tonight seemed a bit different. And what was different was you still saw some soft zone coverages, which if anybody watches the show, they know I'm not a fan of it. But the difference was that you saw instant pressure because you have to double team Quentin Williams. If you don't, you're going to get destroyed. And they tried to block him head up a few times tonight, and it didn't work. He was disruptive in the passing game, which is insane because he's playing defensive tackle, and it's instant impact. It's crazy how one player up front can make a difference for you. Now, you play a really, really, really good offensive line next week, which may be without Lane Johnson because he came off the field last night looking very gingerly. But we'll see how that works out. But you guys saw tonight that it makes a difference when you have some pressure on the quarterback. I still think you provide that pressure playing man defense, and they played a lot of man tonight as well. It was a great mix of man and zone. But no matter what, this dude is still on the hot seat. I don't care what anybody says. This dude's seat is hot as hell. And the fire extinguisher may come for him next week if they can put this kind of performance against Philly. Teams that the Cowboys are supposed to beat this year has been shaky at best. Win against the Giants was shaky. Very shaky. Win against the Jets got shaky at the end of the football game. The tie against Green Bay was just a game where it was like, we're just going to throw defense out the window on both sides of the ball. We're just going to score as many points as we can. And they end up scoring the same amount of points. The win tonight was shaky. They need a dominant performance. They got one, especially off, everything that's happened within the last, 10, 12 days. And they got it. Had on the Marshawn Nealon t-shirts tonight. Obviously the team is still coping with the loss of the teammate. And that's understandable. That's perfectly understandable. Dak just did a post-game interview, still doing it, as a matter of fact. And it's definitely heavy on their minds, but they're trying to channel that hurt into something positive on the football field. It was positive tonight. Run through some stat lines real quick. Dak Prescott, 25 of 33, 268 yards, 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. Had a fumble in the first quarter. I think it might have been the first drive, and it cost them 3 points. But, it was a great play. Max Crosby, again, going crazy. It's just Max Crosby, and you have to deal with the speed of Max Crosby. And for the most part, they did a good job after that play. They did a really good job containing Max Crosby. Javonte Williams had a season-high 22 carries for 93 yards, 4.2 yards a carry, no touchdowns. Malik Davis had 4 carries for 20 yards. Pick had 9 catches for 144 yards and a touchdown. CD had 5 catches for 66 yards and a touchdown. Hunter Lemke had 3 catches for 36 yards. Jake Ferguson had 4 catches for 16 yards and a touchdown. Brevin Spann-Ford had a catch for 4 yards. Ryan Flournoy had 1 catch for 2 yards and a touchdown. Spread the ball around pretty well. Your leading tackler, again, was Deron Bland. Malik Hooker had with 6 tackles, 4 assists. Malik Hooker had 3 tackles. Ezra Raku had 3 tackles. Shamar James had 3 tackles. Kalen Carson had 2 tackles. Logan Wilson, new linebacker, had 2 tackles. But I think that Quentin Williams had 1 tackle and 3 assists and a sack and a half. That was the difference. I think that Quentin Williams and Kenny Clark allowed, and Oseo Digizua, for that matter, allowed your defensive ends to kind of run around and put a lot of pressure on Geno Smith. And he was just getting rid of the ball really quick, and because he had to. He didn't really have a choice. And you look at the Raiders stats, and the Raiders stats is pretty rough. 27 of 42 for 238 for Geno, a touchdown and a pick. Geno Smith was the leading rusher for 4 rushes for 14 yards. Ashton Jeanty had 6 carries for 7 yards, 1.2 yards a carry. Maheem Roster had 2 carries for 6 yards. Brock Bowers led receivers for the Raiders, 7 catches for 72 yards, 10.3 yards a catch with no touchdowns. Trey Tucker had 4 catches for 47 yards and a touchdown. Tyler Lockett had 3 catches for 33 yards. Ashton Jeanty had 6 catches for 27 yards. I mean, they had Geno under duress, and he was just dumping the ball off to Ashton Jeanty as much as he possibly could, or trying to get the ball out quick to Brock Bowers, and Brock Bowers would break a tackle and get down the field a little bit. It was a great game plan tonight, but it's against the Raiders. Danny said, we won. How about them Cowboys? Let's go. So what's up, Corey? You look happy tonight compared to the last 2 game show. Like I said, listen, I'm happy with the performance. They went in and played the Raiders team, and they did what they were supposed to do. This was the type of game I expected to see when they played the Cardinals, and it wasn't there. But they made some acquisitions, and they had some players come back. Overshown came back tonight and was running around the field looking like himself a little bit. You know, like he's got to get used to game speed again. You can tell that there was a couple plays that he was kind of like, damn, these dudes moving fast. But as the game progressed and he began to get a little bit more playing time, he did all right. He didn't do bad at all. Siobhan Ravel got in and broke up a pass and looked pretty decent out there at corner. Kalen Carson, coming off the injured reserve, looked pretty good at corner tonight. Deron Bland had an excellent football game tonight. I noticed that they kept Deron Bland more up on press coverage and they kind of played a man zone where the other side may be zoning, but Deron Bland was kind of running around with Trey Tucker for the majority of the night. If that's what you're comfortable with, that's fine. But in order for this defense to work, especially if you're going to stay in this soft zone, and anybody who watches this show, man, you know I'm not a fan of it, you're going to have to get pressure on the quarterback. And if Quinn Williams is going to have this kind of impact against, football teams, then yeah, you got a shot. Troy Aikman kind of alluded to it tonight. If this defense can just get middle of the pack, then you have an opportunity to compete. The Cowboys' goal should be to get to 10 wins. They got a long road to go. This schedule gets absolutely brutal after tonight. This was a game where you build some confidence. I was hoping that they built some confidence against the Cardinals as well. Didn't happen that way. You had a tragic incident that happened at the beginning of your bye week. Maybe you can find some sort of motivation from that. I'm not sure. I don't know how you find motivation from that, but it has to be internal. And shout out to Brian Schottenheimer for getting his team ready to play football tonight. They did a great job. But like I said, after tonight, it gets rough. You got Philly on Sunday primetime football, 3:25 game. You got them in Dallas. That's a good thing. You turn around Thursday and you play a Chiefs team that is going to be hungry and ready for a win because they need some wins to get into the playoffs as well, and get into the playoff picture as well. Then you turn around after that and you got to go to Detroit and play Detroit. And then after that, you got to play the Chargers, who are going to be absolutely desperate for some wins because they look like absolute trash in their last game. And then you turn around and play Minnesota after that, which is another team that's battling for a playoff spot. You have a run of playoff teams. And James says, we all make the playoffs. Can Jerry stick to his old business? I don't know if you make the playoffs. It is a tough, treacherous road. It is rough. And, you know, you're going to play some really good football teams, and you're going to have to play some really good football teams down to the wire. Neither one of those teams looked fantastic last night, but the Eagles defense looked phenomenal against a high-powered Detroit Lions offense. Looked fantastic against them. That's what you got coming into Dallas on Sunday. That's tough. That is tough. And then you turn around right after that and you got to play a Chiefs team that just got beat by Denver, and they're going to try to build some momentum in this next week. I don't even know who they play next week, but then they come right in here on Thanksgiving Day on primetime TV, and they're going to be ready to whoop your ass. Guaranteed. Patrick Mahomes will be back in the Metroplex. He's from around this area, a couple hours up the road. Like, he always brings a whole lot of people to football games, here in Dallas. And it'll seem like a damn home game for the Chiefs. I bet you the crowd is 50-50 on Thanksgiving Day. And you're going to have to deal with that. That is a perennial power in the NFL. They've won multiple Super Bowls. They've been to even more Super Bowls than they've won. That is a very, very, very solid football team that's just having a hard time this season and looking to make some momentum on Thanksgiving Day by coming in here and dominating you. And you're going to have to deal with that. I'm happy for the performance. They played a good football team against a team that they were supposed to beat. That's the end of the story. The Cowboys are going to have to do this against good football teams from now until they play Washington on Christmas Day. Everybody that they play from this point on up until Christmas Day, and Washington is a division game, so it's going to be tough. And then after that, you play the Giants, which is another division game. That's going to be tough too. Like, the rest of their schedule is tough. It's tough. And you're going to have to pull these performances off against good teams in order to make the playoffs. That's the only way you can. And, you have to have your team stat lines have to look like you won a football game. 267 passing to 209, 114 rushing to 27 rushing, 5.9 yards per play to 4.1 yards a play, 24 first downs to 17 first downs, 4 of 10 on third down, 3 of 12 you gave up. You are the worst third down team in the NFL, and you went 3 for 12 tonight. That's what you're supposed to do against the Raiders. That's what you do. 65 total plays to 58 total plays. One sack allowed tonight. You sacked Geno Smith 4 times. You punted the ball twice. They punted the ball 3 times. You had 6 penalties for 50 yards. They had 6 penalties for 40 yards. You lost the fumble, but you got an interception. Your time of possession, you controlled the ball for 33 minutes and 36 seconds tonight. They controlled the ball for 26 minutes and 24 seconds tonight. That's what happens when you start getting 3 and outs. That's what it's supposed to look like when your defense gets on the field and comes out and controls a football team. But it's the Raiders. They don't have a receiver. They have a running back that averages 1.9 yards before he gets contacted. It's the Raiders. They're reeling just like you are. They might be in a bigger tailspin than you are. They traded Jacoby Jones away, their best player. Not Jacoby Jones. You know what I'm talking about. Traded their best wide receiver away. Trey Tucker is their best wide receiver now. These are things that this was a football team that you were supposed to dominate, and you did it. And I felt the same way about the Cardinals, and they didn't do it. So we don't know what is going to happen in the next few weeks, but this was a positive start. And one thing about it is your defensive line now, that's a difference. There is a humongous difference. You get your very, very, very solid linebacker whenever he's healthy. You got him back. You got a rookie corner that has a tremendous amount of upside. You got your safeties back. This team is locked. This is the team that you were supposed to have from the beginning of the season. This was the whole thing that Jerry kept talking about. Well, help is coming. Help is on the way. Well, that shit's here now. It's here. And then you made a trade for an all-pro defensive tackle and a pretty good linebacker in Logan Wilson. We'll see. We'll see. You got a tough test against Philly coming up. They didn't look tremendous offensively. You should have a pretty good defensive game against Philly. You should. That's not saying that you will, but you should, because the Detroit Lions defense is broken apart again. They're down to, third and fourth team corners again. They're missing defensive linemen. Still got Aiden Hutchinson though. And their offensive line was out of whack last night too. I think they were missing both of their starting tackles. So, that's the team that you got coming in here for a big time Sunday game, and it should be some payback because in all honesty, you probably should have beat them the first game of the season. So I will be impressed and I'll be grinning from ear to ear when they beat Philly. If they beat Philly, I'll believe. But until then, I don't know. They beat a team with an old-ass coach and the talent on both sides of the ball. I agree, 100%. 100%. But you got a team that's on the verge of imploding, but they just keep winning, coming in here on Sunday in a primetime game that's going to mean a whole lot for both teams. Dallas is absolutely going to they have to beat Philly. It's a must-win games for the rest of the season. Philly wants nothing more than to sweep Dallas. Nothing more. Like, their season would be absolutely just a cherry on top to be 10-2, leaving Dallas with a win. Losing a game to Dallas could be detrimental to Philly. It could be. Like, A.J. Brown seems like he's on the verge of implosion every single week. Like, something different about this dude complaining about something new. Like, make his ass blow up. Make his ass blow up. Hell yeah, Carter and Allen going to be a problem. You damn right. They sure are. But you got two pretty decent guards, and you got your center back, so you should be able to at least handle him a little bit. As long as he don't start spitting, he going to be there. You know what I'm saying? He will be there. So you're going to have to deal with that. That's something you're going to have to deal with. We'll see. We'll see. I'm excited about what I saw tonight. I saw a team that looked like they wanted to play football. I saw a defensive squad that came out and they looked hungry and they flew to the ball, and you saw multiple hats on tackles. You saw things that you haven't really seen a lot this season, even against bad teams. So, it's promising. It's extremely promising, but we'll see. I'm not a believer yet. I think the seat is still hot for Eberflus, and this better go well. He gonna have to find another job next year. That's my firm belief. But Jordan Davis, I know you're talking about. Yep. And Jordan Davis last night with that big frame, man, he just kept getting his hands up. Even if he wasn't getting a big rush, he kept getting his hands up. And he probably batted down 4 Jared Goff passes last night. Jared Goff is 6'4", 6'5"? Jordan Davis is a big-ass dude, man, and he just clogs up the middle, and he'll get his hands up and make it hard to throw the ball across the middle. So we'll see. We'll see. But one thing I did see is that secondary can be susceptible to big plays. It can be. We're going to talk. So, that is an interesting topic. I'm not sure. I'm not sure why. I can tell you this. The team got there yesterday afternoon, I think so. Or yesterday, they probably left here yesterday morning. And it is Vegas. You know what I'm saying? Ain't no telling what happened last night. But I don't know. Maybe they just wanted to give somebody a different look too. I don't know. Maybe it's like, hey, what the hell is wrong with these dudes? Make everybody talk about it a little bit and then swing them out there and then start feeding them the football. I don't know what happened. Haven't seen anything on any reports. I highly doubt that Brian Schottenheimer says anything about it. And the PR people told Monday Night Football people, yeah, you're going to have to discuss that with the coach. So something may have happened. Don't really know. But, if it does come out, we'll talk about it during the week. But I highly doubt that it was anything super serious because they were only literally out one series. So who knows? Trying to wait and see if Shotty says anything in his post-game stuff. But he hasn't even taken the podium yet. Not yet. So he's, probably talking to the team, and like I said, man, it's a lot of people in that locker room that are still, trying to cope with the death of a teammate. Seemed like he was a very liked dude, well-liked dude in the locker room. And, it seemed, you can tell that a lot of them are they're still hurting. So that'll probably be more of the topic of conversation. And I'm pretty sure when they ask him about Pickens and CD Lamb, he'll probably just blow off the question and be like, yeah, something internal. Yeah, but we dealt with it. They set out a series, end of story. So great win, though. I mean, great win. Both receivers played well. Pickens is the thing that I really don't like about this whole George Pickens thing is that contract just keeps getting bigger and bigger and bigger every single week that you don't sign that dude, because he keeps doing bigger and bigger and bigger things. He is a damn animal, and it has to be a proven fact that they just didn't know how to use him in Pittsburgh, because that dude is an absolute dog here in Dallas. And shit, he has games where he outperforms CD, and especially with CD being out, for a couple of weeks with the high ankle sprain, like George Pickens and Dak Prescott have really developed a relationship, man, and it shows on the football field. He is ultra comfortable throwing the ball to both of his wide receivers, but he does not mind at all throwing the ball to George Pickens, not at all. And he knows Pickens will go get it. So phenomenal catch, the one-hand catch on the sideline. Yeah, I saw that too. He's just out of bounds. But as soon as he popped up, he was like, that close. Yeah. Great catch, but just happened to be out of bounds. Said D-Line's played great. He said D-Line played great. Did what it's supposed to do. Absolutely. And that's the whole thing, is that you finally got some defensive line play where they did things that they were supposed to do. And Quentin Williams and Kenny Clark played extremely well. And then Oseo Odighizuga swinging in played well tonight as well. Played probably the best game he's played all season. It looks promising, but we'll see. You got some rough offensive lines coming up here real soon. Real soon. Eagles offensive line, even if Lane Johnson will be out, they're still good. They're a very good offensive line. Chiefs have a offensive line that is, can be shaky, but when they need them, when they need to be, they can be good. And, even if they're not playing well that day, Mahomes is just mobile enough to extend plays and get the ball down the field. Detroit, if their offensive line gets healthy, they have an excellent offensive line, and they can beat you with the run or the pass. The Chargers offensive line has been struggling lately, and that's a game that you absolutely should win, because that offensive line got dominated against Jacksonville. I mean, dogged. So that's a game. And then J.J. McCarthy in Minnesota is finally starting to show that he may not be what they thought he was. So this is, you got some opportunities to win some big football games coming up, and you need to take advantage of every single one of them opportunities. Every single one of them. So franchise Pickens might be a good idea. It might be, but When you average out, the top 3 contracts, the top 4 contracts in the NFL, you're going to have to pay that dude a whole lot of money. If you franchise tag him, you're going to have to pay him a whole lot of money. I just think you should have signed him 4 weeks ago when you could have got away with paying him $25, $28 million. Now that number's going to go up to where it's going to be right up there with CD's contract. And that's going to be, you're going to have a salary cap that's going to look very similar to the Cincinnati Bengals. And you're going to have some defensive players on the other side that need to make some money too. I'm not sure how the whole thing worked out with Quentin Williams' contract, like how that was all worked out. But I think he just signed an extension with the Jets. So I know you had to pick up some of that too. And then if you want to keep Kenny Clark around, you're going to have to sign that too. There's some contracts that you got coming up that you're going to have to try your best to get these players on this team. But you got a couple of draft picks to play with. I think you gave up one of your first rounders this year. I'm not sure which one they gave up. Well, next season, you gave up one of your first round picks to get Quentin Williams. But, I don't know if you gave up your pick or Green Bay's pick. I would have gave up Green Bay's pick. That pick is going to be much lower than yours. Okay, so you got Quentin for the next 3 years. That's positive. That is super positive. But you got some other players that you're gonna have to sign here pretty soon. But you can cut some dead weight by getting rid of Diggs. But I think Diggs is eligible to come back next week. I think so. Maybe he'll be off of his 4-week-long concussion protocol or whatever the hell he got going on. Ain't no telling us what he got going on. But positive win. On the Filthy. I mean, Filthy comes in here. They're going to be ready to play football. We'll do a show on Wednesday this week for sure. Last week was a bad week. Had just long days at work. Got things going on at the job site. But glad that stuff is over with. We'll do a show this week on Wednesday. And then Saturday, we'll probably do a joint show with my good friend Britt from Philly. And then we have talked about doing a live play-by-play on Sunday for the game against the Eagles. We'll see how that all works out. But if that doesn't work out with the game, with the play-by-play, we'll just do the same thing that we're doing tonight and go live right after the game and hopefully be talking about a win. Hopefully. They gave up Green Bay picks, so you got 2 first-rounders. Next year. I know what you're saying there. Yeah. Okay. So that's in some of these players that you may have to get rid of, that's how you gonna have to fix it. You're gonna have to fix it in the draft. And there's some decent players in college right now that can definitely help out your squad for sure, right? But if Dallas, if you are fully bought into this, we're going to win right now and we're going to go after this playoff spot for real, then, that what that does is that draft pick keeps going down and down and down, especially if you start winning football games. So something to think about, you've got some really good talent on both sides of the ball now. And, those dudes, especially if they play well these last couple of games, man, they're gonna earn some money, whether it's here or somewhere else, So just things to think about in the future. But anyway, I'm gonna make up for the show I missed last week. I'll make up for it this week and do my mid-season grades. It's not too late to do that, and then we'll talk about the impact of the trade, and then we got a little bit of proof of the impact of the trade tonight. A little bit. We'll see if it's a lot of bit on Sunday. And I keep harping on that subject because I'm just not convinced yet. I'm not. It's against the Raiders. Congratulations. You beat the team that you were supposed to beat. Now let's go beat a team that you're not supposed to beat. Or that, internally and with, people that follow the Cowboys, a team that you probably should beat. I think you should beat Philly. I think that you have a really good chance. You should beat Kansas City. I think you should beat Detroit. it's going to be tough because they're going to stretch your defense out to the max, right? But if you can shut down that run game and make them one-dimensional, then you have an opportunity to win the football game. I think all of these games that you have opportunities to win all these football games. Hell, you have opportunities because you're taking the field, but what are you going to do when you're on the field? And it's going to take timely play calls. It's going to take good defensive strategy. It's going to take all of the above, and you're going to have to make games look like you did tonight against a mediocre team. You're going to have to start doing that against good football teams if you truly, truly want to make a run at this thing. So we'll see. But anyway, we'll talk about it a little bit more next week, and then we'll get on this Philly game Saturday, and then, showtime on Sunday. On to the next. Congratulations. Good team win. See y'all this week. Peace.